Hello, everybody. It is your Professor Rocco, you boy, coming at you once again with another Age of Sigmar video in this AoS general class. Since we've recently covered god models, Go Trek, we've done hammers, anvils, screens, all the whole 9 yards here. We should talk about those heroes, the rest of them in your list. They aren't gods, they aren't named. Generally, they're either on foot or riding some kind of a war beast, whooping your troops up into a frenzy and ready to get some blood spilt. Now, this is in response to a viewer question, very specifically about using the Star Drake model. And we need to also talk about, for these heroes, they have their own roles themselves. Because sometimes it's going to feel like, they're more than just a hammer, or they're more than just a support piece. The heroes are multifaceted, case by case. Why are they there? It's true. Sometimes you taking the unnamed Maw Crusher, not the Gordrak variant, the just a regular Orc Mega Boss on a Maw Crusher, or a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon will be better than taking Gordrak or Prince Vordry, for example. But what we need to focus on is, how do we make these heroes actually be heroic and are good for our armies and for us? Because a lot of the times, the ones that are mounted on something can be a substantial amount of points. It could be a few hundred to a quarter of your list there, at almost 500 points, some of them. So, what are we doing? How are we getting value out of this? So again, very big, multifaceted thing that I'm going to do in a rant instead of a slideshow, because I want to talk to you, dear viewer. I do, my students, as your professor. And as your boy, I got your back. So let's just get into this here. Why are we even talking about these heroes? What do they do? So heroes generally have some kind of a command ability that allows them to buff the troops around them or themselves to achieve greater purpose in life. That could be buffs for damage, buffs for their own survivability, debuffs for enemy units. If you're the Frost Phoenix with the Anointed on top, you do all three. You do them very well. Why does any of that matter, though? Is that, why are we investing so many points in these? And it's what they bring to the army, and we can add on to that, because on its own, Lord Celestin on Star Drake isn't necessarily the biggest of hammers. It's a good damage deal. It's an all-rounder piece generally. Same thing with an Achillean King currently on Deepmare. They're probably going to get a new book in the next 4 months, so this video is going to be void for them. But and add in my Frostheart Phoenix that I adore so much. What do we do to add a little extra oomph? Because we're killy to an extent. We're tanky to an extent. We're good for helping the troops around to an extent. Where's that extra bit come from? So for me, it's the command trait you get if they're your general. You get one command trait per army. It's throwing an artifact their way. It's mount traits as well if your army has access to those. Now, some armies, like the Ogre Maw tribes, currently have a sub-faction that can give you mount traits for all of your monsters. And honestly, that is another way to go about this, is your sub-faction. And it's the extra rules you can take from your battle tome or supplements and throw them in to do extra stuff. A real common before was go the anvil. The amulet. I said the anvil. The amulet of destiny, to make your hero an anvil so they just didn't die. To give them previously a 5-up ward, now it's a 6-up. And with that, a lot of armies tend to have some way to get a 6-up ward or better for their heroes. If you don't have that, this artifact is still great. I recommend it. But a lot of the time, you're going to see a lot of these heroes already have a lot of damage. and it's, can you up their survivability? We're in generally in a worldwide 5-game tournament meta. Shooting is still looking pretty good. Melee armies are making a push. Melee Stormcast, Ironjaws, Deepkin are still good. Then you're gonna run into your KOs, your Lumineth Realm Lords, your Daughters of Cain. That could also be a melee army, but everyone's so hung up on Marathi and the Bow Snakes that it's still out there, and you have to be conscious of it, you know. But what do we do here? Is we look at heroes and look at units in general as how do we earn the points back for the model. And generally it's, have they killed enough stuff, scored me enough points on objectives, or empowered the rest of my army to do enough stuff. And a lot of the time, it comes down to making them more survivable and being able to throw them up into a unit. They won't die if the dice desert you with your damage. Now, the Star Drakes in general, because we're going to focus on them because that was specifically what the question was asked. We're looking at the command traits, we're looking at the artifacts, the mount traits, and what have you. And I do have those on my phone right here because I do have my Stormcast Battle Tome with me. So we're going to focus on building a Star Drake. If we're worried about the actual meta, right? We're keeping that. This isn't just like a for fun thing. We're looking at a tournament meta. Everything's in Gur. We know that there's going to be monsters around. A Drakesworn Templar variant. It's a 4-up save, yes. But you still have 18 wounds. You still have all the movement. You've got the great shooting in the Rain of Stars. The Skybolt Bowl is there. And specifically, the weapon options are a bit different than the Lord Celestin. On this, we have the Stormlance, where 6 is to hit, if I remember right. Yep, unmodified hit roll for an attack made with a 6 that is targeting a monster. The monster will take d6 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends. And we're looking for ways to buff this in order to get our money's worth out of this. This is a very chunky hero. It costs a lot of points, and we need it to be survivable and killy, right? That's the thing, because we don't have a command ability here. We do, however, have a regular ability called Arcane Lineages, which is adding 1 to casting rolls. All Star Drakes get this for friendly wizards, and also subtracting 1 from casting rolls for enemy wizards within the certain range. So we're already getting some points back from this just by buffing our casting and to ensure that our other heroes and units that are wizards can do better. I would look specifically for this. If this is my general, and I'm building monster hunting, a lot of the command traits for Stormcast, the generic ones, aren't must takes. A lot of times you'll see people take Mastery of Magic, one of the generic ones, to reroll casting in an unbinding roll, or the reroll the prayer roll one. But the Master of the Celestial Menagerie, I believe it's called, that makes all of your monsters -1 to be wounded. It protects a quarter of your list here in points in a Drakesworn Templar or a Star Drake with Lord Celestin. I think it's a good move. I do. It could also protect the Knight Draconis if you bring them. If you also have one of the named dragons in this list as well, it'll protect them. I like it, And there's also different artifacts that we can look at for Stormcast here. Specifically, it should be under Stormforged weapons. The Blade of Heroes. Pick one of the bear's melee weapons. You can reroll hit rolls for attacks made with that weapon that targets a hero or monster. So we can, because of the Stormcast book, specifically build for a mount trait and an artifact and a weapon loadout to make the Drakesworn Templar a dedicated monster killer. And you look for things like that in this. You look for how can I make this either live long enough to get into combat, like the Maw Crusher? You know what? People are like, do you want 2 extra attacks on the dude riding the Maw Crusher, or do you want it to be a 3-up armor save? You take a 3-up armor save. You know what? You want this either Star Drake to be more survivable. You go and you take the sub faction Hammers of Sigmar to give them a ward save if they're close enough to objectives. You know, you look for heroes that have spells on their war scroll, like the Lord Arcanum on Griff Charger, that can heal Stormcast units. You use them as the target of your heroic action to heal. You know, there's ways to build around an all-arounder to make them specialize in certain things. Now, looking at mount traits, for this we have, if I remember right here, pick one hero for, we have what should be something like Light of the Young Stars with just a Star Drake only. Instead of doing a regular Monstrous Rampage on a 3-up, you subtract 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by enemy units trying to target you in the following combat phase. Ooh, actually, it's just a unit in general in the following combat phase. So I can make my Star Drake -1 to be hit, -1 to be wounded, and give myself a 6-up ward save while having an artifact where I am a dedicated hero monster killer to dedicate myself to killing heroes and monsters while debuffing them. Yeah, it's freaking great. Uh, there's Scintillating Trail, which is subtract 1 from unbinding rolls for enemy wizards. So you can make this not only hunt enemy wizards and heroes and monsters, but you can make them -2 to cast, which I think is really cool. Let's see. We've got Envoys of Lightning, which I don't necessarily like for this in particular. We're setting someone up in the Science of the Storm battle trait, where you do mortal wounds when you impact in. Celestial Instincts is you can retreat and shoot or charge in the same turn, which I do like, to be able to retreat and charge my unit, my hero unit, the big old monster, so that I cannot get bogged down, because that's one of the weaknesses as well for this is I obviously have a quarter of my points. You know, it's the Marathi problem too. I've got a big monster that I need to go around the table and smash people. How that monster doesn't get to go around and do the thing that I need it to do to earn its points back by killing all the stuff is by chaffing it up with cheap units I don't necessarily care about, but like if it can't do reliably 20 wounds, like it's dedicated to the monster hero killer, right? Let's go with that whole line of thought. That doesn't mean it's going to be good at killing a unit of 40 grots. But if I can retreat out of combat in order to get into a better target for me from the role that I gave it, then Celestial Instincts is an amazing, amazing mount trait. And mount traits in general, again, are you pick one. If you have one, your first monster gets one that you want to give it to. And then as an enhancement to your army, generally, you can say you're going to pick another one. Usually you have to have a battalion that lets you take the extra enhancement. Sometimes there are sub factions that will let you just keep handing these out. And coming to the Star Drake proper here, the Lord Celestin here. Because again, these were what the question was about. I'm here to answer these. Looking at the Lord Celestin, we're 3-up save, 9 bravery, 18 wounds. We've got the Rain of Stars shooting attack, which is still good. We've got the Celestial Hammer, which is a nice 3 attacks, 3s to hit, 2s to wound, -2 rend, 2 damage weapon. Or the Stormbound Blade, which is 6 attacks, 3s to hit, 2s to wound, -1 rend, 1 damage. We've got good claw attacks, sweeping tails, a great damage table for what it does. Still doing the Arcane Lineage for +1 to casting. Also, both of these models have the Cavernous Jaws, where they just can instantly slay models if you roll greater than the model's wound characteristic. Specifically, we have once per battle, you can issue a command to a friendly Stormcast unit for free without spending a command point. And also, we have a Sigmarite Thunder Shield, where 6 is to save if you're being attacked by a melee weapon, can reflect a mortal wound back at your opponent. And again, to me, I can very easily make this a 2-up save by spending an all-out defense command point. I can look to, because I'm not doing anything special on 6s to hit, and in 3rd edition, you can't double up on abilities. Like, I can't say 6s to hit do mortals and then also generate an extra hit after the fact. So what I would look for this, whereas before we're looking for rerolls and we're looking for like other stuff. If I wanted to make this more combat-y, because again, I'm taking the retreat and charge mount trait, I'm taking the -1 to be wounded command or a command trait. I might not do retreat and charge and do the -1 to hit monstrous rampage. I might. But I like retreat and charge too much. I gotta be honest. So what I would do here is, if I'm not looking for an Amulet of Destiny, I would go the Celestial Vindicator subfaction, because they have a command ability that when you charge, and we're retreat and charging with this, 6s to hit do extra attacks for you. And I would look at the artifact specifically here. Because again, we're trying to be more aggressive. I'm not taking Mirror Shield in this case to worry about shooting. I'm not taking an Obsidian Amulet to worry about magic. But I am looking at possibly the Hammer of Might. I don't follow me here. It's going to sound weird. But we're trying to make a Star Drake work as an offensive weapon, where I am going to try to, or the Blade of Heroes again. Either works. But what I would want to do is, with the Hammer of Might, 6s to wound double the damage characteristic. So I think I would take maybe the sword or the big hammer, honestly. Either one works for this. I give myself the command ability for free as my own ability to 6s to hit, explode in 2 hits, then 6s to wound double the damage characteristic, my damage 2 weapon because damage 4. Then all of a sudden, I'm just loving life. And then the 6s to hit thing also goes for the other damage profiles of the Star Drake. And I just look at that, and yes, the double damage is only on the rider's weapon, but I'm using my dragon here as a force multiplier to do more stuff, and I have the options to build it out as that. And I've got the abilities to still make it be safe, so I can get into combat at a decent attack profile and do the job that I'm setting out for it to do. I personally like Star Drakes more if I'm not building the Monster Hunter version, to be a pinning piece and to support my troops. And what I'm saying by that is, I want it to go up to the biggest, scariest thing my opponent has and laugh at it because they can't kill it as I chip away at it. If that's like a big block of Phoenix Guard, you know what? I'm going to try to go in. I'm going to try to auto-eat 3 of them with my Cavernous Jaws ability. I'm going to try to roar at them so they can't use a command ability on them. I'm going to maybe make them -1 to hit me. I'm going to be -1 to be wounded. All of a sudden, they could be at 4s to hit and 4s to wound instead of the 3s and 3s. And I'm just loving life at that point. They cannot cut through me. I've got extra attacks exploding, or maybe I went the more defensive route and all out defensed myself. So I'm on a 2-up save. I've got the 6-up ward from being near an objective. Maybe I took, in this case, the Amulet of Destiny for the 6-up ward, so I can do Celestial Warbringers still for rerolls, or Celestial Vindicators for exploding hits. And I'm looking through my book and all the things. How can I milk the last bit of efficiency out of this? And if it's a unit like that I know my opponent needs, for starters, I can just get them stuck in place so that they can't affect the battle as much as I'm trying to protect my dragon with my retreat in charge so it cannot get stuck in place to affect the battle. And with that rant, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Thank you for coming to class. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment. If you have any questions yourselves on either more heroes or monsters that you're looking at to try to get a little extra juice out of, uh, well, this all this still applies. Just if it's a Maw Crusher, you're like, yeah, I take the 3-up armor save. I take an artifact to improve my rend on the dude. I throw a War Chanter at it for extra damage and go. If it's the hero phase move, you look for mount traits to buff your dude. Even the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon can do some cool stuff with that in the different dynasties. Or ye old Terrorgeist with the mount trait to reroll 6s to hit to do mortal wounds, or whatever it is. It's a fish for 6s to hit to do mortal wounds on the bite. There it is. This applies for every army. And sometimes you're gonna find heroes like the Lord Arcanum on Griff Charger, not a combat hero. It's very much I'm there for magic. I'm there to bring people back. It can fight someone that's about 200 points worth of stuff, but it's not gonna fight a Maw Crusher. That's not its job. That's what you have this dragon for. Here, this Star Drake that can go toe to toe, and it may not kill it outright, but it will keep it busy until you can kill it, and that's what's important here. And you know what? If you do roll 666s to hit with the lance and you do 18 mortal wounds, that thing's just dead, and it's whatever, unless it's Strength of Destiny. It's got the wards. You get the idea. But that's the beauty of this game is there's so many different dice rolls to decide what's going on, and it's our job as a player here when we're optimizing lists to be like, how can I remove the dice on my side of the equation and affect my opponent's dice more? Which is why, again, we look for debuffs for our opponents, buffs for ourselves, anything to help and to either survive long enough to do damage or just do flat out more damage. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming to class. And I'd like to say at the end of all of our videos, class dismissed. Bye.